Hello everybody, welcome back to Arthenex Plays Age of Wonders 3, The Eternal Lords. So this is going to be a little bit of an unusual episode in a couple of different ways. First of all, and the main thing is that after I recorded this video, I found that the video file had been corrupted in several different ways. Obviously, some of it was salvageable, as you can see from watching it. However, the audio file was completely gone, as well as most of the combat parts of the video also had corruption in them as well. So as a result, I apologize, but this video is going to be a little bit shorter, as I had to cut out most of the combat from the video in post-production and re-record the audio track. So you're going to hear the commentary as I remember what happened after the fact, rather than as I'm playing, which is of course unfortunate and not what I would prefer to do, but still it's a whole lot better than nothing, and it should allow you to keep up with what's going on in the game, so that when we return to our regularly scheduled and normal episodes tomorrow, you won't be too far behind. So if you recall, in the end of the last episode, I had discovered that I had missed a tomb and an island that I thought I had previously cleared out, and I'm going to have to go back and get that. But before I do that, I'm going to clear out the rest of that island with my main hero first. Here you can see I'm moving my panther that I had just charmed back to help defend the Fey village, which I have not yet purchased, but will quite shortly. Spoiler alert. In the meantime, I'm trying to get a flying mount for this hero, since this hero has all other flying and floating units now, except for the apprentices, which will start floating as soon as they reach gold medal rank, which is going to happen pretty soon because they're already at elite, or already at expert. So I'm trying to get a flying mount for them as I go back and kill that wandering monster. But no luck so far, as you can see. More spiders. In the meantime, I am going to kill that wandering monster, because I've already killed both of the monster encampments that spawn them. So once I kill it, I won't have to worry about any more of those units spawning. So here we go into combat. The combat videos are going to be, combat parts of this video, I should say, are going to be severely truncated because of video recording issues, which is unfortunate, as I think it's probably the most interesting part of the videos to watch. I tried to save as much as I could of most of the combats. However, that was not all that much. So here I have the enemies are coming towards us, and they position themselves mostly out of range of my other melee units, except of course for the flyers, and the panthers are completely out of range. So here I'm debating, do I shoot first or do I send in the infantry first? And I decide to shoot first, and actually my fairies are so effective against those guys that they completely wipe them out in one set of volleys, which leaves my phantasm warriors with nothing to attack, which is a little unfortunate. And that, I believe, as I move my apprentices up here and prepare to engage with that, then they're going to shoot those guys. And my phantasm warriors, I'm trying to figure out what they can hit. I move my hero up a little bit, and that brings us to the first cut. So we jump forward to much later in the combat, and you can see most of the enemies already dead, but thanks to my flyers. And that's the end of that turn. So the panthers are going to move up, and they're going to flank my apprentices. But you notice that I left my phantasm warrior back there deliberately, because I anticipated that that's exactly what they would do. So they are in position to just move over and flank the panthers and not take too much damage. And then my other phantasm warriors can come and flank them, trying to get as much experience on the phantasm warriors as possible, because phantasm warriors scale up better than just about any other unit that gains experience in this game, in my experience anyway, being understandably primarily a sorcerer player. So here I debate whether or not I want to befriend the panther, but I decide, I'm considering disbanding my other panther anyway. I don't have a lot of use for it, so I'm just going to spend my turn healing the apprentice, because I've got a lot more combats that I want to fight with this army this turn, and healing them will help me do that. So, got some ranks, move over, and enter the Forbidden Sanctum. So here we have a tier 4 unit. It's a King Shock Serpent. It's what I'm hoping to evolve my mature Shock Serpent into in my other army. I also have a couple more tier 2s in forms of a Wraiths and Nightmares, and a couple tier 1s in terms of the baby Shock Serpent. So here we take a look at the King Shock Serpent. It's certainly not the most powerful tier 4, but it's got several significant abilities that you have to be aware of. Inflict stun, of course, but most importantly, static shield, which means that I really don't want to be attacking this unit in melee combat. So here you can see the opponents moving up, and as we examine their army, I notice that there's 2 potential targets for Charm Animal, the Vampire Spider Baby and the Baby Shock Serpent, both of which can evolve into pretty decent units. And here, once again, I've jumped past a corrupted part of the video file. You can see the Wraith has already been badly damaged by the fairies, and it becomes easy for my Phantasm Warriors to go up and finish it off. Now, here I'm going to move up. My apprentices started so far back that the only thing they can shoot is that Nightmare, and they can only shoot it once, which is a little unfortunate. And here I'm just checking on how far the King Shock Serpent can move to make sure that it can't make it to my apprentices this turn. So it's going to go up there and shoot. And my plan here is to shoot the Nightmare, move the Flyers up, so I'm going to shoot it as well. Move the Flyers up to prevent it from moving in and attacking my ranged units, and then move my Phantasm Warrior up to take the hit from the Shock Serpents, hopefully, because the Phantasm Warrior, with its shock protection and its physical resistance, should be able to hold up pretty well against the King Shock Serpent. Here you can see I'm shooting it with my Spirit Ray, and Holy Champion is doing nothing for me because the Nightmares are immune to fire. And here's my Flyers going up to do some damage to it with charge and block the entrance. And the Shock Serpent cannot quite, just a little bit short of making it into position to flank my Flyer. So now I'm to decide where I'm going to put that guy, and I decide here's the best spot. So that leaves the Shock Serpent just enough movement to go up there and attack it, which is what I hope it does, so it'll break its guard, allow me to flank it, and kill it. But AI is a little bit too smart for me, as it does not attack my Phantasm Warriors with the Shock Serpent like I was hoping it would, instead stopping 1 hex short and guarding. In the meantime, the AI's Nightmare moves up and flanks my Phantasm Warrior, which leaves me with a couple of not so good options. So I could go attack that King Shock Serpent, but I don't really want to. It is still guarding, and it has static shield, and I'm really reluctant to attack it. I am not, however, reluctant to shoot that Nightmare, do tons of damage to it, and hopefully kill it. Alright, we're a little bit short with killing it with that unit, but we can easily kill it with the Phantasm Warriors. Now, the Phantasm Warriors will get flanked by those spiders, but the spiders won't be able to kill them. So I'm not too worried about that. In the meantime, now I'm going to try and do some ranged damage to that Shock Serpent, starting with the apprentices. They can take a step forward and shoot it 3 times. Or 2 steps forward and shoot it without the range penalty. But if they do that, then even though I'm going to have the Phantasm Warrior stand next to the Shock Serpent and guard at the end of this turn, if I move closer with the apprentices to get the no range penalty, the Shock Serpent could potentially attack the apprentices twice. And they might even be able to one-shot the apprentices, but they can definitely 2-shot them. So I decided to play it a little bit safe with the apprentices and hang back and only do 1/3 damage, half damage 3 times. Now I have to figure out a way to get my hero to do some meaningful range damage. and I decide what to do is move my Phantasm Warriors back, because if you're right next to an obstacle, you can shoot over it. And by being right next to the Phantasm Warriors, I can then shoot those guys. And because I'm not planning on meleeing the Shock Serpent with my Phantasm Warriors anyway, it doesn't matter if they use up all their movement kind of dancing back and forth. So they're going to move up there in guard. I'm hoping that still hoping he'll attack my Phantasm Warriors. And I debate what I want to do with those guys. I finally decide to leave them there to prevent any units from getting through that hallway. And also, if the Shock Serpents try to move past them, they'll get some AOs. Shock Serpents still decline to attack my Phantasm Warriors, and indeed they go after my apprentices. They didn't quite one-shot them. I'm not sure if they could have or not, but they don't quite do it. As the baby Shock Serpent kills itself attacking my flyers. So since they didn't do it, we should hopefully be able to kill the Shock Serpent on our turn. So we can flank it with the Phantasm Warriors, which we do. They will have to deal with the static shield, but they have a lot of shock protection, and so they are able to flank it without getting stunned. That allows me to move my hero, have my hero step back without getting an AOO and possibly getting hit with Inflict Stun. And I can attack it with my flyers, but I will only do that if it will kill it, because I don't want the thing to retaliate against my flyers. So here I decide, all right, what am I going to flank it with? My hero or my fairies? And I decide, since my fairies do 2 types of damage, it's better to flank it with my fairies. And I'm going to go ahead and move up close enough to get rid of the range penalty, because at this point I'm committed to killing the Shock Serpent, the King Shock Serpent this turn. If I don't, it's definitely going to kill one of my units. So since it's going to kill one of my units anyway, there's no point in hanging back, since it can only kill one of my units no matter what. So then I shoot it 3 times with my hero. I'm hoping this will kill it, because I'd love my hero to get that experience for killing a tier 4, but it leaves it at 1 hit point, which is pretty unfortunate. So my flyer has to fly back and finish the job. He'll still take a hit from the static shield, and indeed he gets stunned, but he levels up and kills the King Shock Serpent. So that just leaves the Vampire Spider Baby. I could leave them there and try and befriend them next turn, but I decide it's not worth the risk of my Phantasm Warrior dying, so I just kill it. Which brings an end to that battle. And here I find a Frost Elemental, a whole bunch of mana, and some casting points. So I'm not really keen on actually summoning Frost Elementals. I have better things to summon, namely Phantasm Warriors, which are cheaper to summon, cheaper to maintain, and at least as good, if not better. But I take the reward anyway, because I don't have very much mana, and I'm not making very much. And it will also allow me to summon up some more eggs. And here I get a Cockatrice egg, still not the flying mount I'm looking for. Although you would think a Cockatrice just being a giant chicken, that it might fly, since it is a bird, but no. So I send that to my Warlord hero, because even though it doesn't fly, it's probably the best non-flying mount that I can get from summon Invoke Extraordinary Mount for a melee hero. So, and I don't have a flying mount for my Warlord either, so I figure, might as well send in the Cockatrice. So here we're exploring, and we discover that someone, I wonder who, probably the Druid, has already cleared out those Sunken City and that Shrine of the Fickle Mermaid. And in fact, the Shrine of the Fickle Mermaid needs a bunch more turns to recharge. So that kind of dulls my desire to go further east, and I consider going after that Sphinx Shrine, but I decide that, that hero's probably not up to going after a Sphinx Shrine, so let's continue east after all. I see there's some mana down there I can grab, and who knows, there might be some more treasure locations on that island I can grab as well. And this hero's going to go back down to that island and see what we can clear out. We can't clear out the mythical stuff, of course, but there's still quite a few things on that island that we can clear out. And so we'll head in that direction. Alright, so, and the builder, we will continue to head for the tombs and so forth on the island. And I figured we might as well stop by the inn on my way over there, see what they've got. If they, there's not too many things that I would consider buying from an inn, but there are a couple. Almost certainly I'd buy an elven longbowman if it was there. A draconian flyer I would probably buy, and I might even buy a elven griffin rider or a halfling eagle rider, as they're both of those are pretty close to draconian flyers in ability. So if there's any of those, I would consider it for sure. Although with very little money, it's unlikely, and almost no income, it's actually pretty unlikely that I actually get it. So now I'm looking at my experience here, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, I would like to grab that level up pillar this turn, but I'd also like my hero to level up before he grabs it so he can level up twice. And he is very close to being able to level up, and I'm thinking, can I get him enough experience fighting this watchtower so that he can level up? But first I got to pick a skill to research, and we just researched Bless, and even though I'm only a few research points away from getting Sphere of Protection in 2 turns, I eventually decide to grab Sphere of Protection because it is really good. I'm severely tempted by magical structures here because I could really use some more mana income, and magical structures is pretty much makes a sorcerer set for life when it comes to mana. But Sphere of Protection first, I eventually decide, and I will pick up magical structures fairly shortly after that. I also consider School of Teleportation. I like School of Teleportation mainly for the projectile resistance more than the phase. Although the phase can be helpful when you're assaulting cities to phase up on top of city walls, but I eventually go for the projectile for the Sphere of Protection. So here, I have now purchased this dwelling, and I'm going to start working my way up towards being able to build Nightshade Fairies, which are amazing, by the way. Probably my favorite ranged attacking unit in the game is the Nightshade Fairy. It's immune to fire, cold, and lightning. It floats. It's got good movement. It's got true seeing. It does tons and tons of damage, especially when flanking. It doesn't care about physical resistances. It's really good. So we're working our way up to building those. In the meantime, we set our cities to produce merchandise since we have almost literally 0 gold. And I'm a little tempted by the firstborn here, but not that tempted. It doesn't fly, and it is immune to fire, which is nice for a fire mage, but the fact that it doesn't fly makes it hard to use on a water map when most of my other units that I'm actually using either float or fly, and therefore it allows us to get around embarking. So here we go. I manually fight this battle because I want to get as much experience for my hero as I possibly can, in hopes of leveling him up before we pick up the level up goodie hut on the map. And again, here we'll see just the beginning and end of this fight, because the middle part of it was corrupted. So we get to watch these units charging us, which is nice, and then we're going to fade out, fade back in, and you can see that most of them are already dead. And I did not get as much experience for my hero as I would like. So those guys are going to move up. They're going to flank the flyers, which had moved up to try and kill the greatsword. But they left the greatsword alive at 1 hit point, which is a little bit unfortunate. So the greatsword was still able to get an attack on the flyers. Here I'm going to move up. I'm going to heal my Phantasm Warriors with Men Magical Being. Always a awesome combo. Anytime you play a sorcerer is Men Magical Being in concert with summoned creatures like the Phantasm Warriors. And I eventually decide, again, I want to try and get as much experience as I can, but I decide healing the flyers is actually probably more experience, since you only get 1/3 of experience per ranged attack from shooting. I believe that they changed it to that. I'm not 100% sure, but you get full experience for healing, as if you had attacked something, which leaves me a little bit short. But I realize that I can get the last part of the experience that I need from fighting the units that are actually guarding the level up pillar, and that I should be able to level up off of them. So here I grab the watchtower, reveal a bunch more of the map, Um, and once again, I continue to try and get a flying mount, and I succeed finally with the Obsidian Wyvern Egg. Not my favorite flying mount by any stretch of the imagination, but not terrible, and it flies, which is the main thing. So, going to continue to summon more. I think my Warlord is next on the list. So we grab the haste berries so we can keep moving. And we go, and again, we're going to all move on there so we can all get the benefit of the level up. And here we see that most of our units are going to be promoted to champion, which is awesome, especially for the Phantasm Warriors. Alright, so our main goal in this fight is once again to get our hero leveled up. So that he can level up during the fight and then level up immediately afterwards by grabbing the level up pillar. So they charge, which is nice, and I decide to go ahead and attack with my hero here. So again, as you can see, I am 13 experience points away from leveling up. So I basically need one more kill or a couple more attacks. And here we've jumped forward again to avoid another corrupted portion, and you can see my flyers have moved up. And I actually kind of forgot when I moved them up that they had killing momentum now since they leveled up to gold rank, which means that they get to move again if they kill a unit, which is pretty awesome, especially because it allows them, if they move up and kill a unit, it allows them to guard, which is what I have them do here. So then the Hunter Spiders phase over next to my hero and try to web it. Now, if they had succeeded, I would have been very, very sad because it would have been very difficult for me to level up my hero there if they got webbed, since I'm still basically one attack short of leveling up after shooting the spiders, which is what I did. So all the rest of their units throw themselves at my units and die. And here I check my hero once again and find that I am 4 experience points away, which is basically one attack. So I consider simply meleeing the Hunter Spider, but I finally decide, what the heck? I'll try befriending it. I'll get the experience either way, and it fails, but he levels up, which was the main thing. So now I do a quick check on my other units. Is there anybody that's close to leveling up? He is kind of, but he can't reach them, so it doesn't matter. The apprentices are nowhere close. The Toadstool Fairies are nowhere close. The Phantasm Warriors are nowhere close. And the Flyers are nowhere close. So I decide, might as well kill them with the apprentices, which they do easily, ending the battle and allowing me to grab the level up shrine and level my hero up to from 7 to 9 in one fight, which is pretty awesome. So then I kind of look through my options here and notice that I can get Vow of Poverty now, which is of course amazing, especially considering I have no gold and am making none. It will dramatically allow me to increase my gold production. And it reminds me that I really ought to be building helmets, Bringer of Goodwill, back at my artifact forge in my capital. Although I won't start doing that this episode because I don't have enough money. I will start doing it very shortly. So I kind of take a look at the spells because I'm considering whether or not to give him more casting points, but I decide his spells are not as good as just his raw abilities. So for now, I'm going to improve his resistance. Just improve his survivability. Try and improve his survivability a little bit. I consider Healing Aura, but he's already got healing, so he doesn't really need Healing Aura. Healing already does out of combat healing just perfectly well. Thank you very much. There's none of those that I want to upgrade points, so that's going to be the end of leveling him up. And we'll go after the Heart of the Tropics next turn. And that's it for that army. Pretty productive turn for him. He fought 3 battles, won them all, leveled up twice, leveled most of his units up, some of them twice. which brings us to my main hero. So we're going to go ahead and grab these 2 places before we move on. Starting, of course, with the gold mine. I do a quick check to see if either of them have any units I might want to tame, and they don't. So here I kind of look at this, I think about it, I decide this is auto combat worthy. All my units are at full health. I am a little concerned about the Shock Serpent, but I decide, yeah, auto combat. And then we move over, we pick up our 46 gold, which we desperately need. Move over to the quarry. And use the other hero to move in, and they're running, which is perfectly fine with me. So I move in, and here I get one really good item. The solid chainmail leggings are really good. The second breakfast is okay, and 52 gold, but it's definitely worth taking those 2 items. +2 defense on a leg slot item is quite good, especially for a melee hero like my rogue. And the second breakfast is mainly good for its out-of-combat healing ability. So I send that to a hero that doesn't have any out-of-combat healing ability, namely my other sorcerer, who is close enough to grab it in 1 turn. And then we go up to finally clear out that tomb, because we're about to build a fort up there, and it needs to be cleared out if we want it to produce anything for us. Which brings us to this hero. So this hero is going to go explore that heart of the Glades. I consider going to the Lost City, but I'm really not ready to take on a mythically defended treasure site. So we'll go after the heart of the Glades. And unfortunately, as I debate whether I want to move in with my whole army or just 1 hero, and I move in with my whole army, unfortunately this combat, it was almost completely corrupted. So I eventually, after trying it a couple of different times, had to cut the whole thing out. So we go straight from the beginning to the end, and we kill them off, which ends the movement for this, and that also is going to end this episode. So once again, after I do a little bit more exploring, once again I apologize for the parts of the video I had to cut out, and for the fact that the audio quality was corrupted as well, and I had to re-record it. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it anyway. If you did, please consider liking the video, and I will be back with a regular recorded as I played with all the combats intact episode tomorrow. So once again, everybody, thanks for watching, and all the Age of Wonders fans out there, have a terrific day.